Have you ever noticed how some women seem completely uninterested in a man's age, until they meet a man who makes them feel something they cannot easily explain? Because what I'm about to say might challenge a belief you've carried for years. Many men quietly assume that getting older automatically makes them less attractive. They look in the mirror and see a few more lines around their eyes, more responsibilities, more mistakes, more years behind them than ahead of them. And somewhere deep inside, a small voice whispers, "Women want someone younger." But that isn't always what happens in real life, and if you've ever felt confused by the way certain women seem drawn toward older men, stay with me. Subscribe if these conversations help you see relationships more clearly, because some truths only reveal themselves when you're willing to look beneath the surface. Here's something I've learned after years of listening to women speak honestly when nobody was judging them. Most women are not secretly sitting around calculating age. They're calculating something else. Safety. Not physical safety, emotional safety, and those are very different things. Imagine a woman sitting across from two men. One is younger, attractive, energetic, confident on the outside. The other is older, not perfect, not trying too hard, not performing confidence every second, just comfortable inside his own skin. Now here is the interesting part. The younger man may immediately attract her attention, but the older man often captures something deeper, her curiosity. Because curiosity is what happens when someone feels difficult to predict. And many women have spent enough time around emotionally reactive men to recognize a rare quality when they see it. Calm. Not passive, not weak. Calm. The ability to stay grounded when things become uncomfortable. You might think women are primarily attracted to excitement. Sometimes they are. But excitement creates butterflies. Calm creates trust. And trust is where real attraction begins growing roots. What many men never realize is that women often pay attention to how you handle moments nobody else notices. The delayed text, the disagreement, the misunderstanding, the awkward silence, the disappointment. An emotionally mature man doesn't turn every small problem into a personal crisis. And that maturity is often associated with age, not because age automatically creates wisdom, but because experience sometimes does. Notice I said sometimes, because this isn't really about older versus younger. It's about what age can represent. Experience, perspective, patience, emotional steadiness. A woman may never say that out loud. In fact, many women struggle to explain it themselves. They just know that around certain men they feel less pressure, less confusion, less emotional chaos, and more peace. Now here's where this becomes uncomfortable. Because many men watching this secretly hope an age gap alone is enough. It isn't. A large age gap without emotional maturity feels strange. An age gap combined with insecurity feels exhausting. An age gap combined with arrogance feels unbearable. The attraction isn't the number. The attraction is what the number appears to have taught you. And sometimes, that difference changes everything. Because the women who are drawn toward age gap relationships are often responding to something much deeper than age itself. They're responding to a feeling that says, this man knows who he is. And for reasons we'll explore next, that feeling can become far more powerful than physical attraction alone. I want you to picture a moment that happens far more often than people realize. A woman is lying awake at night after a date. She is not thinking about the man's age. She is replaying how she felt around him. That distinction matters because people rarely fall in love with facts. They fall in love with experiences. They fall in love with feelings. And one of the most powerful feelings a woman can experience is emotional relief. Not excitement, not obsession, relief. The relief of not having to constantly guess where she stands. The relief of being around someone who doesn't seem desperate for validation. The relief of talking to a man who isn't trying to prove himself every 5 minutes. Many women spend years encountering men who are still fighting invisible battles inside themselves. Battles with insecurity, comparison, fear of rejection, the need to impress everyone in the room. And when a woman meets a man who has already wrestled with some of those demons and come out calmer on the other side, she notices. Maybe not immediately, but eventually, she notices. One woman once described it to me in a way I never forgot. She said, When I was with him, I didn't feel like I was being pulled into his storm. Think about that. Most relationships begin with attraction, but they survive because of emotional climate. Every person creates an emotional climate around them. Some people create tension, some create uncertainty, some create drama, and some create peace. Women are often far more sensitive to emotional climate than men realize. A man may think she is paying attention to his career, his appearance, his social status. And yes, those things can matter. But what she remembers most is often how her nervous system felt around him. Did she feel judged? Did she feel pressured? Did she feel she had to perform? Or did she feel accepted, seen, safe enough to be herself? This is one reason some women find themselves unexpectedly attracted to older men. Not because older automatically means better, but because emotional steadiness becomes increasingly attractive after enough disappointing experiences. Something changes in people as they get older. Not everyone, but many. They begin valuing peace more than excitement, depth more than attention, connection more than performance. And women who have reached that stage emotionally often start seeking the same thing. That's why age gap relationships frequently surprise the people involved. The attraction wasn't part of the plan, it wasn't logical. Sometimes the woman herself feels confused. She may have imagined herself dating someone her own age. She may have had a completely different picture of her future. And then she meets someone who makes her feel understood. And suddenly her checklist starts losing its power, because connection has a strange way of disrupting assumptions. Now, before you misunderstand me, this doesn't mean women are searching for a father figure. That explanation is usually far too simplistic. Most emotionally healthy women are not looking for someone to rescue them. They're looking for someone who feels emotionally available. There is a difference, a huge difference. One comes from dependency, the other comes from genuine connection. And when an older man possesses emotional availability without trying to control, impress, or dominate, something interesting begins happening. The woman starts lowering her guard, not because she has been convinced, not because she has been manipulated, but because trust is quietly growing. And trust has a way of opening doors that attraction alone never could. The problem is that most men completely misunderstand what creates that trust. They assume it comes from saying the right things. It doesn't. It comes from something much harder to fake: consistency. And that's where the real psychology becomes fascinating. Let's talk about something that rarely gets discussed honestly. Consistency sounds boring. It doesn't make dramatic movie scenes. It doesn't create viral dating advice. Nobody watches a romantic film and gets excited because the main character consistently showed up, communicated clearly, and acted like the same person every day. But in real relationships, consistency is incredibly attractive, especially to a woman who has been hurt before. And whether people admit it or not, most adults carry some kind of emotional scar. Maybe it's disappointment, maybe betrayal, maybe years of feeling unseen, maybe relationships that started intensely and ended suddenly. Those experiences leave fingerprints on the heart, even when people pretend they have moved on. Now imagine a woman meeting a man who doesn't constantly change. His mood isn't different every day. His affection isn't dependent on whether life is going perfectly. His attention doesn't disappear the moment he gets comfortable. He's simply reliable. Do you know how rare that feels to many women? Rare enough that it often gets mistaken for something extraordinary. Because consistency creates emotional security, and emotional security creates space for intimacy. One of the reasons some women become comfortable in age gap relationships is that older men sometimes understand this lesson better. Not because they are superior, not because younger men cannot learn it, but because experience often teaches painful truths. The older you get, the more you realize that emotional games are exhausting. The more you realize that winning arguments doesn't build closeness. The more you realize that attention is easy to get, but trust is hard to earn. A younger version of many men wants to be admired. A mature version often wants to be understood. That shift changes everything. Women notice it, not consciously at first, but emotionally. And emotional perception is powerful. A woman may not be able to explain why she feels comfortable around a certain man. She may tell her friends, "I don't know what it is." What she means is, my emotions trust something my words can't fully describe. And here's where things become even more interesting. Many men assume attraction is built through impressing women, yet some of the strongest connections happen when a woman sees a man's imperfections. Not the polished version, the real version. The version that admits mistakes. The version that doesn't pretend to know everything. The version that isn't terrified of vulnerability. There is something deeply attractive about a man who no longer feels the need to wear armor every second. Because emotional honesty creates closeness. And closeness is often what transforms attraction into genuine attachment. I've watched women describe older partners in ways that had nothing to do with age. They didn't say, he was older. They said, he listened. He understood me. I felt calm around him. I could be myself. Notice the pattern. They're describing emotional experiences, not numbers, not birthdays, not age differences, experiences, feelings, moments. That's why discussions about age gaps often miss the deeper truth. People focus on years. Women focus on emotional reality. And emotional reality asks a very different question. Not, how old is he? But, how do I feel when I'm with him? That question quietly shapes more relationships than most people realize, because eventually attraction becomes less about who looks impressive from a distance, and more about who feels right up close. And there is one emotional experience that can make an age gap relationship feel especially powerful. It's something women rarely talk about openly, not because they're hiding it, but because it's difficult to put into words. It's the feeling of being deeply seen, and that feeling changes everything. Being seen. It sounds simple when you say it out loud, almost too simple. But if you've ever spent years feeling misunderstood, you know how powerful it really is. Most people go through life carrying parts of themselves that nobody fully notices. The fears they never talk about, the insecurities hidden behind confidence, the dreams they quietly gave up mentioning because nobody seemed interested, the loneliness they disguise with smiles. Women are no different. In fact, many women become incredibly skilled at hiding what they truly feel. They learn how to appear strong when they're struggling, how to appear calm when they're anxious, how to appear happy when they're emotionally exhausted. And after years of doing that, something interesting happens. They stop looking for people who simply notice them. They start looking for people who understand them. There is a huge difference. Anyone can notice beauty. Anyone can notice appearance. Anyone can notice charm. But understanding someone requires attention, patience, curiosity, presence. And sometimes, older men have learned the value of these things through experience. Again, not always, but often enough that many women feel the difference. A younger man may be focused on what he wants a woman to think about him. A mature man is often more interested in understanding who she actually is. And when a woman feels genuinely understood, emotional walls begin falling without her even realizing it. Not all at once, slowly, quietly, naturally. She starts sharing thoughts she usually keeps to herself. She starts revealing stories she rarely tells. She starts showing parts of her personality that don't appear on first dates. And what fascinates me is that many men completely miss when this is happening. They think attraction looks like constant flirting, constant compliments, constant excitement. But some of the deepest forms of attraction are much quieter than that. A woman begins trusting your opinion. She remembers tiny details from your conversations. She feels comfortable in silence. She seeks your perspective when she's confused. She feels emotionally rested after spending time with you. These things may not seem dramatic, but psychologically, they're incredibly significant. Because emotional attachment rarely arrives with fireworks. Most of the time, it arrives through repeated moments of feeling understood. And that's where many age gap relationships become stronger than outsiders expect. Not because the age difference creates magic, but because emotional connection grows stronger than assumptions. The outside world sees numbers. The people inside the relationship feel something entirely different. They feel compatibility. They feel respect. They feel emotional resonance. And here's an uncomfortable truth many men need to hear. A woman doesn't feel deeply seen by a man who constantly tries to impress her. She feels seen by a man who is genuinely interested in her reality, her thoughts, her fears, her contradictions, her humanity. That's much harder to fake and infinitely more attractive. Because real connection is never built on performance. It's built on presence. The ability to sit with another human being and truly pay attention. And when a woman experiences that consistently, something begins happening beneath the surface. Something she may not even recognize immediately. The relationship stops feeling like an age gap relationship. It starts feeling like a connection she doesn't want to lose. And once that emotional shift happens, the dynamic changes in a way many people never expect. Because now she isn't comparing ages anymore. She's comparing how she feels with you versus how she feels with everyone else. And that's when attraction often becomes much deeper than either person anticipated. This is usually the moment where everything becomes more complicated. Because once a woman starts comparing how she feels with one man versus how she feels with everyone else, logic begins losing some of its influence. Not disappearing, just losing its position at the front of the room. And that can be unsettling, especially for a woman who never expected to be attracted to someone significantly older. I've heard women describe this experience in surprisingly similar ways, not because they rehearse the same answer, but because human emotions often travel familiar paths. They'll say things like, "I wasn't looking for this," or "It happened when I wasn't expecting it," or "I kept trying to find reasons it wouldn't work." Notice something important. These aren't the words of someone chasing fantasy. They're the words of someone wrestling with reality. Because attraction and practicality don't always arrive at the same time. Part of her mind may be analyzing the differences. The future. The opinions of friends and family. The questions other people might ask. Meanwhile, another part of her is focused on something much simpler. How she feels when she's with him. And that internal conflict can be surprisingly intense. People often assume attraction is straightforward, but many meaningful relationships begin with confusion. Not because something is wrong, because feelings are rarely neat. A woman can be emotionally drawn toward a man while simultaneously questioning why. She can feel comfortable and uncertain at the same time, excited and cautious, hopeful and afraid. Human beings are full of contradictions. Love doesn't remove those contradictions. Sometimes it reveals them. Now here's something many men overlook. Women are often paying attention to how a man handles those uncertainties. Can he tolerate them? Can he stay emotionally grounded while things develop naturally? Or does he become impatient and start forcing clarity before trust has had time to grow? This matters more than most men realize, because confidence isn't demonstrated by controlling outcomes. It's demonstrated by remaining steady when outcomes are still unknown. And older men who have lived through enough disappointments often understand this. They know that connection cannot be rushed. They know that emotional pressure usually creates distance. They know that genuine trust develops on its own timeline. That patience can feel incredibly attractive. Not because it's a technique, because it communicates security. It tells a woman, "I'm not trying to force you into a decision. I'm allowing you to arrive there honestly." That emotional freedom is powerful, very powerful. Because people tend to move closer to what feels safe and further away from what feels controlling. And when a woman feels emotionally free around a man, something unexpected often happens. She begins choosing him voluntarily. Not out of obligation, not out of pressure, not out of fear, out of genuine desire. That distinction matters, perhaps more than anything else. Because healthy attraction isn't about convincing someone to want you. It's about creating an environment where authentic connection can grow. And when that happens, the age difference often fades into the background. Not because it stops existing, but because it stops being the most important thing. What becomes important is how two people make each other feel, how they communicate, how they support each other, how they navigate life's challenges together. And ultimately, those qualities determine the future of a relationship far more than a number ever could. But there is one final truth about age gap relationships that almost nobody talks about honestly. A truth that explains why some of them flourish while others quietly fall apart. The final truth is this: the age gap itself is never the reason a relationship succeeds, and it is rarely the reason it fails. What determines the future is something much less visible: mutual respect. I know that sounds simple, but stay with me for a moment, because respect is often misunderstood. Many people think respect means admiration, or agreement, or putting someone on a pedestal. It doesn't. Real respect is seeing another person clearly, seeing their strengths, seeing their flaws, seeing their fears, and still valuing their humanity. That's where healthy age gap relationships either become stronger or begin unraveling. Because if the older person uses age as a source of superiority, the connection slowly weakens. And if the younger person constantly seeks approval instead of partnership, the connection weakens too. Neither person can build a meaningful relationship from above or below. They have to meet as equals emotionally. That is the part people often forget. The years may be different, the life experiences may be different, but emotionally, both people still need the same things: understanding, respect, trust, honesty, care, the need to feel chosen, the need to feel valued, the need to feel emotionally safe. Those needs don't disappear because someone is older or younger. They're part of being human. And perhaps that's why some women find themselves unexpectedly happy in age gap relationships. Not because they were searching for age, but because they found qualities that made age feel less important. They found someone who listened, someone who remained calm during difficult conversations, someone who didn't turn every disagreement into a battle, someone who offered presence instead of performance, someone who felt real. And deep down, that is what most people are looking for. Not perfection, reality. A relationship where they don't have to constantly protect themselves. A relationship where they can exhale, where they can stop pretending, where they can be fully human. If you're a man watching this alone tonight, there is something I hope you remember. Your value is not determined by how many birthdays you've had, and it is not determined by how young you look. The qualities that create meaningful attraction run much deeper than that. Your ability to listen, your ability to remain emotionally steady, your ability to understand yourself, your ability to treat another person with genuine respect. Those things become more attractive with time if you allow life to teach you instead of harden you. Because the men who leave the deepest impressions on women are rarely the men trying hardest to impress. They're usually the men who have become comfortable with who they are. The men who no longer need to perform confidence because they've built quiet confidence from experience. The men who create peace instead of confusion. And maybe that's the real reason some women are drawn toward age gap relationships. Not because they're chasing age, not because they're ignoring it, but because sometimes, hidden within the years, they discover qualities that make them feel understood, safe, respected, and deeply connected. And in the end, those feelings are what people remember, long after the numbers have faded into the background.